sound. Cool, I think it's working. Okay, do you love lasers? Because I love lasers. Oh yeah, my name's Multiplier. This is going to be a tutorial on how to do lasers, because everyone loves lasers. Yeah, and then you can like change the speed and stuff. Anyway, that's just an idea. Anyway, if you've heard the track Destroy Them with Lasers from Knife Party, it's pretty fucking cool. And I wanted to try and make that kind of laser sound for my La-Di-Da-Di remix for the Beatport competition remix thing, and I ended up making this cool sound. And I don't think it's quite as good as a Knife Party laser, but I think it's still pretty cool. I mean, that sounds pretty cool, right? There's no getting around it. That sounds like a laser attacking you or something. And I'm going to show you how I did it in Massive. And unlike a lot of other tutorials, I'm going to actually explain how I made it and why I did what I did and how it works, because there's a lot of tutorials on the web that either come up with a crappy sound at the end of it or don't really explain what they're doing. They just kind of say, right, turn this preset to this position and then do this, and then cool sound comes out, when that's not really very helpful, because what ideally I want from this is people to kind of go, oh, that's how you make a laser sound. I'm going to do it my own way, but use the general approach, because I may not have thought about it like that. So I'm using Native Instruments Massive, which is, as everyone knows, the coolest synth out there. Mainly because it's just freaking awesome. And yeah, how it works if you're not used to Massive is you've got these 3 oscillators over here. And what they do is, unlike FM synthesis, which starts off with loads of simple waves and then kind of combines them and lets them kind of play about to come up with a cool wave, you start off with a complicated wave, which is this voice thing here, and you choose all different voices, which is just like the starting off wave, and then you kind of combine them all together, and then you run them through these filters and possibly some effects, and then possibly some more effects, and then you modulate it with all this kind of stuff. That's the general approach. You kind of start off with a reasonably complicated thing, and then process that, as opposed to FM synthesis, which starts off with more simple things. Anyway, basic idea behind a laser is you want to take a note, but not really necessarily a really clean harmonic note, and then kind of modulate the pitch down so it goes like, so it's going like high then low. And that's what I've done with number 5 here. I've used this LFO, which is the Expo down 2, which is just a simple kind of looking kind of curve, and then I've modulated the pitch so it goes down. And what I've done is I've mapped the rate to this macro thing here, so I can control the rate with this, which is just one way of doing it. You can map the rate to whatever you want. You can map it to another LFO, a stepper, performer, an envelope, or to macro button, whatever your workflow suits. But yeah, basically how you get that cool laser sound is by having this kind of exponential curve down on the pitch. That's kind of the most important thing, which is kind of obvious. That's what everyone tries when they first do it. But how do you get a cool, like, awesome Knife Party kind of, yeah, I'm Rob Swire, I'm an awesome producer, laser sound out of a simple wave? What I've done is I've got 3 oscillators going, so that's going to make it more complicated for a start. And I've picked 3 voices, mellow something, flend something, and electro something. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. And then what I've done is I've detuned one of them very slightly, and the point of detuning is you get dissonance where kind of 2 notes that are pretty close together interact to produce weird higher notes, and that's what sounds cool. And then I've just picked a random position for the other one, which is 5 semitones up, and then detuned quite a lot. So the point of this one is to kind of really detune it and make it sound really horrible, and if you didn't have this cool laser pitch shift thing, it would just sound like a really horrible note, like a really distorted, weird, just horrible sound. But that's kind of what you want in a laser. And then what I've done after that is I've got the filters running in series, which means they're kind of one after the other. And to do that, you just stick that slider up to series up there, and then I've got a comb filter up there and a screen filter there. And then to have the sound coming out of the second one, because it goes into filter 1 and then into filter 2, that's what the series bit is. You have the mix thing as mix 2 at the bottom. If you had it at mix 1, it probably wouldn't work. So it kind of runs through both filters. And for the filters, I picked them kind of randomly, to be honest. It doesn't really matter what you have, but I just kind of played about with a few different settings, just randomly. There's nothing wrong with doing it randomly. It's called experimenting. Everyone does it. You don't have to know necessarily why it works, but just get a cool sound. Scream's quite a popular one for getting a cool kind of screamy laser sound, which is quite cool. So yeah, I've got 3 sounds detuned, one of them majorly detuned and all over the place, going into some slightly aggro filters, but just play about with them. And then after that, I've got dimension expander, which is overlooked as an effect and massive, but I think it's really cool because what it does is it takes like a simple sound and then expands it. It's called expander in the stereo like field or whatever you want to call it. It just makes it sound bigger. You don't need to know how it works, but it just makes it sound bigger. And especially if you're doing lead synths or any kind of lead line, it's sounding like that's not that cool. How do the pros make it sound so big and awesome? Just chuck a dimension expander in. That might be all you need. And then size and dry wet is kind of obvious. And then I've got a phaser, which I don't know what it does. It does something with a phase. Maybe it phases it a bit. But it's made the laser sound kind of really cool. It was like a nice final touch to it. And just play about the settings. And other than that, I haven't really done anything, to be honest. I've got the fourth envelope, which is always by default mapped to the amplitude. Left that pretty much standard. I think I reduced the attack because it's initially like that or something, but get the attack way down so it just starts off like, yeah, awesome laser. And then what else did I do? Oh yeah, with the LFO I clicked the restart button, which I think comes by default unclicked. And what that does, it means every time you trigger the MIDI note, it restarts the LFO at the same point. And I find that really useful because the thing with Massive, if you don't click all the restart buttons, you'll find you're kind of dialing in a sound, but then it's sounding different every time you start it. And that's fine if you're aware of it, but it can be kind of annoying. And that's why when you go to this oscillator tab, I click the restart via gate button. Not sure what it means, but it's how I personally make sure that the same note comes out every time I trigger the button. Because I just like knowing what's going to come out, and then if I want to kind of vary the sound as it goes through the track, I'll vary it in my own way. I don't need the random oscillator starting in different positions, which I think is what it's doing. I think that means it starts every time you trigger the wave thing at the same point, but whatever. Just click it if you're finding your sounds are coming out different every time. And yeah, that's all there is to it, really. Come up with a cool sound, detune a bunch of stuff, pick some random sounds, put them through some filters. It's simplest if you put them in series, run them through together, come out with mix 2. Throw in some effects for lasers, dimension expander, then phaser. Seems to work pretty well, but you can again choose whatever you want. And then map the rate of the kind of that thing, which is the pitch shifting down, however you like. And then just go mad and make laser sounds. Yeah, slower, faster. Pretty cool. And yeah, just fuck about, make lasers, and then jump around your room like you're in Knife Party. And then actually Knife Party don't really do much on stage, they just kind of stand there. But actually no, Gareth sometimes gets on the mic and goes scream, yeah, and then Rob's just nodding along. He sometimes nods a little bit more than other times, but yeah, make laser sounds, be as awesome as Knife Party, and then yeah, you'll be awesome. So do that. Oh yeah, mine is Multiplier. Check me out on my Facebook page. That's where I post loads of stuff. Like there's lots of free tracks and stems for my tracks and all kinds of cool stuff. Just like it because I've also got pictures of that girl you like naked, so if you like it, I'll send them to you. And SoundCloud, check me out on SoundCloud, and Twitter. Sweet. Laser! Wait, I need to finish on a slightly more energetic laser. Yeah!